All right.
Just hand this out. Yep. Let's pass them down. Just write your name and your address on the front of that envelope. So your name and your full address.
Home address? Or
No, your address in Pakistan.
Yeah.
is that from Pakistan?
It's from, where are you from?
I'm from Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Yeah, put that address down.
I don't know why you get. I'll pull your back.
Put Malik's address to Pakistan.
You got a hate for Pakistan?
Where?
Chris, here or here?
Address it to yourself.
Okay.
That's what you're doing. So, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
We're going to be talking about your goals and projecting what you guys wish to see in December of 2019. And the easiest way to control your outcome is to seed it with a series of steps. And we're going to get very, very granular down to the week, the month, and the year. This envelope that you're filling out is an envelope that's going to be addressed to you. Once we're done with our exercise and you're done with what I'm going to have you do moving forward, we're going to take this documentation, put it into this envelope, and we're going to mail it to you December of 2019. So all the content, everything that we're putting in place, we're basically writing to our future self. So if you could say anything to yourself in the future, what would that be today? But I don't want you to answer that. I want you to think about this for a second. I want you to think about 2018. I want you to think about the statement, if I knew then what I knew now, what could you accomplish? And that's where reflection comes in. Peterson, did you hear me?
Yes, I'm
What did I say?
No, I'm on.
Right. So we have to pay attention. We have to stay in tune with what's being said. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to finish writing. Write your address down, Peterson. Don't fill anything out yet. All your envelopes done?
Yep.
Peterson?
Everybody need to
I'm not sure that's going to get to you, but we'll try. Should look like this. Yeah. Should look like this.
like this.
Yep.
Like this.
What is it? I forgot to put that Peterson's name on it. It does? Oh.
No, he have it there.
Let me see yours, Peterson.
No, he fixed it.
Okay, beautiful. Ricardo's almost done.
Okay.
So thinking about if I knew then what I knew now, what can you possibly change? That's where reflection comes in. So we're here on January 3rd, 2019, and when you think about 2018, you think about all the things that you've been through, all the things you've accomplished, all the issues you faced, what you've overcome. For me, I like to think about what I left on the table. And the reason why we're reflecting and thinking about these things, going back to the if I knew then what I knew now, is it's my goal and your goal to kind of put that into the flavor of this year. Make sense? Right? So if we can predict the outcome of December of 2019, what would you want that outcome to look like? Now that's going to be a second sheet of paper where you're going to write to yourself. But what I want you to keep in mind when you're writing about December of 2019, I want you to get real specific. I want you to write things like what you expect December of 2019 to look like, what you want to feel like, what you would like to be doing, who you would like to be with, where you'd like to be living, family, friends, what you want it to smell like, temperature, what you would like to be wearing. I want you to write that stuff out. If you can create this image of what you want December of 2019, I want you to write it out. Phil, didn't I do this for you? I created a vision statement for you, right? I had sat with Phil 3 years ago, and I kind of went through his life, what he was doing for a living, what he saw in the future, what he wanted in the future, his family, what kind of job he wanted, what he wanted to be doing for a living, where he'd like to live. Central Park, right?
Sure.
Overlooking Central Park, right? And we wrote this out and we created this vision. And the easiest way to seed your success, the easiest way to get to where you want to go is to manifest your destiny, right? And it's, I like to give the example, when you buy something new, a car, a pair of shoes, a belt, a shirt, that you buy is unique. Once you get it, what happens?
Feels like everybody else has it.
All of a sudden you start seeing it everywhere. Why is that?
Because we never noticed before, now we're noticing that.
Because you never noticed it. Those items, those objects, that life has always been there. You just weren't focused on it. And that's what this meeting is about. This meeting is about getting focused on December of 2019. Taking into consideration the year you just went through. And what you would add to that year if you were able to go back. If I knew then what I knew now. That's how you control December of 2019. Yes, Richard?
Yeah, it looks like it goes back to what you always say, that start with the end in mind.
Always start with the end in mind. And reverse engineer what it's going to take to get you there, 100%. You know, it's an architect that builds buildings, right? The first thing that he gets in his mind is a vision of what he wants that building to look like. The next thing he does is he takes out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and all his tools, and he designs that building based upon the vision that he has in his head. So now that becomes a second creation. The first creation was the vision. Second creation is what we put on paper. The third creation is now getting the right material, the right people, and building it. That's the third creation. So yes, we start with the end in mind. The end is that vision. The end is that dream. You know, when we talk about dreams, we all have a dream to do something. True or false?
True.
Give that dream a date. You give that dream a date, you now turn that dream into a goal. A goal written down becomes a plan. A plan executed leads you to your success. It could be the smallest goal or the biggest goal, right? All starts with that vision. So taking that vision, take what's in your head, and now putting it on paper. So now you have a goals and projection sheet for 2019. And it simply starts with, write your name down, your age, how much income you made for the year 2018. I don't want to get too stuck on writing, but if you maybe don't want your neighbor to see, don't write it down. If you do, write it down. How much money did you make in 2018? And how much money do you project for yourself to earn in 2019? That's the next line. The next thing you want to do is you want to write down what your accomplishments were in 2018. What things did you achieve? What goals did you set for yourself? Did you get there? And I'm not just talking about at the dealership. I'm talking personal, business. Write these things down. What goals did you achieve in 2018? So you have business and personal. Reflecting upon 18, what would you change if you can go back? If I knew then what I knew now, what could I have changed? You know, would I have done anything different? Would I have added anything in? Would I have included anyone? Or was 2018 exactly what I wanted it to be? You know, that could be it too. But put some thought into that. So I want you to take a couple of minutes to just write down a couple of your accomplishments for 2018. First couple of things that come to mind. Write it down. Malik started exercising. That was a goal, right? It could be simple, it could be dramatic. It could be I was a banker and I became a salesman. And if anyone in the room doesn't think that's an accomplishment, you don't know how the world is set up. Raise your hand if you achieved any business goals. Okay. You know, that could be, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to mean you have a business. It could be the business that you're operating in, that you're working in. It could be helping someone else with their business. You know, we always have great ideas for someone else. We also sometimes always have reasons why someone else's idea is not good. And those reasons are usually not valid. They're usually based upon our own experiences. So for instance, I had this issue back in 2008 when I decided to leave Bay Ridge Honda. I had started a business in early 2007 that really took off and started doing really, really well. So in July of 2008, I decided in order to take that business to the next level, I have to be there. So I put in my resignation at Bay Ridge Honda, and at the time I was making $250,000, which is a lot of money, right? And people were like, "You're crazy. You're crazy to leave that job." And the only thing I could think about is I'd be crazy if I stood. Because what I knew about what I was doing, the potential was so much greater than settling for that income. But the majority of the people I spoke to, all of the people I spoke to, told me I was crazy. Now, if it were another time, I might have agreed with them and stood where I was. And that wouldn't lead me to this point, good or bad. So allowing someone to validate your opinion or your goal or your idea can sometimes work against you, and most times work against you. So you have to be careful who you get your advice from. Make sure that source is credible. If it's business advice, make sure that that person is a good business person. If it's fitness advice, make sure that person is fit. If it's relationship advice, make sure that person is in a good relationship. You know, and it can blanket anything you want to do or not, right? But don't allow someone else's opinion of what you want or what you do to define your action steps, unless the source is credible. Yes, Richard?
Well, back in 2008, that was the beginning of the depression of the United States. So maybe that was the reasoning why people would say, "You're crazy for leaving a $200,000 job."
Maybe. But let me tell you, so newsflash, right? So I was so caught up in what I was doing. I didn't listen to the words of recession. I didn't see the signs. I didn't hear the signs. All I knew is what I was doing was working. I was making a lot of money, and in order to take it to the next level, I have to go. You're right. But here's the truth of that, right? So in the recession, we sold half the cars. So I would have gone from 250 down to 125,000 anyhow. I would have felt the recession. So you're right. They might have been warning me, but I think it was more so what I was earning because who the source was.
Okay.
They were my friends. They were family members. They were, you know, they all had secure jobs. So you're right. But be careful with that. Make sure your source is credible. Goes back to business. Make sure that they're good business people, relationship, good relationship. If you follow that simple recipe, and I take this back to a book I read called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's an old book. It's almost written in Old Testament, but Richest Man in Babylon covers a lot of the same principles. The only difference is the trades are gold, diamond, you know, resources for resources. It wasn't really dollars and cents. Then it was resources, you know, donkeys, sheep, you know, the gold guy, the diamond guy, you know, and so I'm not going to get diamond advice from Bob the Builder, you know. I'm not going to get real estate advice from the school teacher. You follow? I want to deal with someone who is professional in that field. And there are a lot of people who call themselves professional, but, you know, a lot of them get lucky, right? Or learn from their mistakes, which we all do. So be careful. Make sure the source is credible. So now, what would you change if you can go back, moving forward? And now, well, so write down a couple of things that you would change if you could go back. And I don't want you to feel rushed to put everything down now. I want you to really put some thought into what you're writing, because remember, you're writing to your future self. You're writing to yourself in 2019, December of 2019. Now skip to the next one, and you'll come back to that on your time. So goals for 2019. What goals, what targets, what dreams do you want to convert into goals? What do you want to accomplish? Personal, business, as a group. One of my goals this year, right, and I didn't even wait to this year, was to do the polar bear plunge finally. I've talked about it for years. I've always wanted to do it, and I was of the mindset that I had to have someone else on board in order for me to do it. You know, so like I wanted Phil to do it with me, or I wanted Imran to do it for me, or I wanted Saad to do it. Come on, let's go do this. It'll be fun. It'll be this. But if they don't go, I didn't follow through. Right? And once again, it goes back to allowing someone else to influence what I do next. Now, if I would have run into someone, I spoke to your customer the other day. We actually sold a car to the
polar bear member. Of the
she's a member of the Polar Bear Club. So he's like, oh, my customer is a member of the Polar Bear Club. So I'm like, Imran, yeah, I want to meet her. I want to say hello. So she came over, spoke to me for a few, told me that once I did it, I wouldn't want to stop, and I've always wanted to do it. And it was enough motivation for me to say, you know what, this year I'm going to do it. To the point where on Sunday, I happened to be in Long Branch with my wife after dropping my daughter off at cheer, and we had brunch, and then we decided to just walk on the beach. And I said, you know what? I'm going to freaking do it now. Why wait till January 1st when I can do it on the 30th of December? And I started my live, I put down, audience kind of knew what was going on. My wife had no idea. She's taking a nice video, I'm videoing her, and all of a sudden I said, hold this, and I start taking off my stuff, say a few words, and I went in. And it felt amazing. It felt amazing. And it was 39 degrees, by the way. So the people that did the polar bear plunge when it was 60, It was the koala bear plunge. I did the polar bear plunge in the colder weather. So that was one thing I wanted to do.
Now I know. Now I know.
So I decided to send a message of the power of now. So why wait for January 1st when you can do it now? And I think that trigger and that action step is important to really getting you what you want, giving you the results you deserve. Because the world is set up not to give you what you want and not to give you what you need. The world gives you what you deserve. So what you put in is in direct proportion for what you get out of it, right? Like your pay. You can kind of come here, and if you don't sell too many cars, your pay tends to reflect that. You sell a lot of cars, your pay reflects that. Sometimes you sell cars and there's no pay, right? That's a joke, but it'll be fixed. You know, things happen. Things happen. And the one thing I could take away from the things happen bit is being prepared mentally and physically, as well as financially, for situations like this, because you never know what could happen. You know, look, a customer could come in here with a drastic complaint where the Attorney General comes in and says, you know what, we're closing Plaza. What do we all do then? You know what I mean? You go on Indeed, you find a new job. But for the 2 weeks that you're unemployed, there's going to be a lapse in your income. Be prepared. People are running around talking about recession. I think they're talking themselves into a recession, right? Because look, we're all consumers. We all need to drive. We all need to eat. We all need to buy clothing. And we all need to enjoy some time, whether you're broke or not. Would you agree with that statement?
100%.
You're in a Honda dealership. We sell affordable cars that are reliable, that will sell all year round. So when you talk about recession, hey, look, if I was in a recession, I'm not buying a BMW or a Mercedes. I'm going to buy a Honda. The guy that's buying the Bentley or the Rolls Royce is probably going to buy a BMW or Mercedes. So cars will be sold. People will still spend money. In fact, in some areas, in some industries, they tend to spend more. Like liquor stores, liquor consumption, cigarettes go up in a recession. Weed, because they're triggered by depression. People eat more, right?
Drink more.
People throw in the towel and say, look, if I'm going to be broke, I'm going to be broke. Let me get that car. Let me get this. Let me do that, right? Or you have people out there that are waiting for it to drop so they can come in and consume. And that's what happened in 2008, 2009. When everyone lost everything, there were people out there ready because they were financially fit. And they jumped in on the real estate market when it was at the bottom. They jumped in on the stock market when it was at the bottom.
Yep.
So there's great takeaways from a recession, but don't talk yourself mentally into a recession.
One of the guys I was reading book a long time ago. One of the richest guys in the world. He goes, when everybody's selling, I'm buying.
Right.
When everybody buying, I'm selling.
Right. You know, there's people that go against the grain, and look, you know, our society, our world is set up. We're conditioned, right? You're born, if you're not a foreigner, right? We're all foreigners, but if you're born here, you kind of have a different work ethic, right? So we're born to grow up, right? Don't do this, don't do that. Go to school, get a good education. Go to high school, go to college, get a better education, get married, right? Get a steady job, work there for 20 to 30 years, retire, pension, right? And repeat. And most of us are not taught the fundamentals of economics on how to acquire assets. We're taught to acquire liabilities. Buy a house, buy a car, have 3 kids. All these things are all liabilities.
You're damn right.
All liability, you're damn right.
Nah, for real.
Are all liabilities.
That makes every single fucking sense. You know what?
Hit it on the nail.
So fucking right. Yeah. And that's average man, and you know, average human. That's what they look for. That is so fucking good though.
Student loans.
You know what I mean?
It's
so fucking long.
it goes back to really something really simple. You know, it's social validation. You know, it's like the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the shoes we wear, what we get our kids. You know, like I'm thinking about this on my way to work today. I'm listening to David Goggins' book. Chris was in the car with me, and chapter 2, not chapter 2. I don't know what chapter it is, but David Goggins, who is the book is about him. He's in high school, and he's talking about going to school with his baggy pants below his waist, and his Bulls jacket, and his hat backwards to the side. And when I heard that, I start thinking about Jordans, and I start thinking about Yeezys, and all these things, and who's consuming these things, right? So like you have people out there who can barely afford to feed their family, who can barely afford to put food on the table, but having the next great iPhone is important. Having the next edition of Jordans is important. Having a big flat screen TV so they can game at home is important, right? And it's society and it's our upbringing that has altered the truth and the realities of the world. And we're victim of it, right? So that's another part of what we're going to speak about today. Motivations, right? Motivation comes and goes. So you might go to bed feeling some type of way. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up early, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And all of a sudden you wake up in the morning, you're like, you know what, I'm going to sleep a little bit longer. I'm going to do it tomorrow, right? You're going to do it tomorrow. Our motivations come and go. From a consumer standpoint, my friend gets a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW. I see his car, it looks great. Now all of a sudden I'm motivated to get that car. And what we lost sight of what motivation really is. And our motivations have become impulses. So now I see those shoes, I see that girl, I see that guy, they look, I look, oh man, I gotta go get that. And it becomes impulse, and people mistake that for motivation. So what we need is a series of checklists. Right? I gave this analogy the other night. So a pilot, before a pilot takes a plane up into the air, there are a series of checklists that the pilot goes through. He checks the controls, he checks the staff, he checks the passengers, make sure everything is according to plan. Checks the flight plan. Now once everything is okay, he takes that plane up into the air. And while that plane is in flight, he's still balancing all those checklists. So he's going back, okay, my traffic controls are good, our height is good, our speed is good, wind direction is still the same, we're on course. Or wind direction changed, so we have to alter our course while he's in flight. And before that pilot brings that plane down, that pilot goes to the same series of checklists that he went through before he took that plane up into the air. Let me make sure everything is clear for landing, my landing gear is operating, my this is good, my speed is good, my wind is good, everything is where it should be. Great, I can take this plane down. And the pilot lands the plane. Your life is that same concept. So one of the things that I do is the night before, I write out all the things that I want to do that next day, or I put it on my phone, and I go through a series of checklists. And you know what the truth is? Sometimes I don't get to them all.
But you really do that though, for real?
Yeah. Do I do that, Chris?
Strong.
You showed me yesterday.
Strong.
I do it, and I didn't always do it, but I know it's one way that I can keep myself accountable.
Wish I could do that.
And going back to, I don't complete everything all the time on that list, but I'm true with that. You know, I don't look the other way and say, oh well. I try to somehow make it up. Maybe add it to the next day. Or maybe I decide it really wasn't that important. Maybe it was really something that I really wasn't that interested in doing. That's the one other thing you can get by writing it down. Hey, once you write it down, you can say, you know what, do I really need to do this part? Do I really need to, can I consolidate these two things? Like if I wanted to have a meeting with you and go over goals, can I do that all in one meeting? Yeah. Okay, I just consolidated 2 things that I had to get done today. So think about these things moving forward. So we wrote some goals for 2019. Now the question is, how will you stay focused? How will you stay focused? I told you the other day, I said one of the things that gets me out of bed, right? So if I wake up, my alarm clock rings, if my alarm clock wakes me up or not, when it's time for me to wake up, my decision is based upon Duke coming over to the side of my bed and starting to lick me. That's when I know it's time to get up, because Duke is like, he wants to eat, he wants to go outside, he's happy to see me, right? So there are some mornings where I try not to make eye contact, because the minute you look at him, he's like, all right, Papa's up. Time to go, right? Or if my arm falls off the bed, he'll come and put his body under it, and all of a sudden I start hugging him. All right, Duke, come on, let's go. You know, that's one of the things that motivates me to get up. The next thing is, what do I have to do for the day? Most of these things I can't do laying in bed. So I got to get up. That's an example of a motivation, you know? Don't get illusioned by money, because money is not the sole motivator. If it were, we'd all be rich, because there's tons of it out there. So don't create those illusions, right? Find out specifically what motivates you. What motivates you? Next is to figure out what motivates you right now, right? Like, I'm gonna get extreme, right? So if it got really, really hot in this room, that would motivate me to leave. If there was a burning building, I'd run out. If I heard a kid yelling and screaming in that building, I'm running back in. That's extreme, right? But find it in its simplest form. You know, what motivates you to sell a car aside from the money? Imran and I delivered a car yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. I got a message they called me at midnight last night, the car arrived. Oh, thank you so much. My wife was so happy, this. To me, that's motivation. I want to do another delivery like that. The person who referred him to me, I was on the phone with for 15 minutes this morning, right? So happy. He said, you know how many people were at my wedding? How many people were at his wedding?
300.
800.
800.
Wow.
800 people at this guy's wedding. He's already sending me another pilot deal. You know, it's like, I got gratification out of the one. That's all. I was good with that. You mean maybe there might be another one? And another one, and another one, and another one, another one? That motivates me. You know, the money's just a result. It's not the motivation. So what motivates you now is extremely important. And I want you to write that down. What motivates you right now? What motivates you right now? This is crazy, right? So last night, I get a message from a friend of mine, James Raffone. I'm going to tag him in this so he can listen to this. I get a phone call from a friend of mine, James Raffone. I know him 15 years when you started karate. I know him 15 years, and he has I believe his son is 8 years old right now. His son has a terminal illness called Deutsch's disease. Don't quote me on that, but it's terminal. No kid has lived past the age of 15. It's a terminal illness. So basically, what happens at around 8, 9 years old is you ever see Benjamin Button?
Yeah.
They basically become old, so the body kind of deteriorates. So 5 years ago, he started a company called Jar of Hope, where he goes around speaking and running races and creating various fundraisers, right, to raise awareness for his kid, because his goal is to do whatever it takes to find him a cure, right? So I'm speaking to him. He messaged me because he sees what we're doing on live. This was after we did our Honda drive. He's like, man, I love what you're doing with your team. I love what you're doing. I'm listening to your videos every single morning, and I want to come and talk to your sales team. I said, wow. When? So I'm arranging that. It's going to be a Saturday morning meeting, but just out of the blue contacted me. So we start getting into this whole conversation about life and about this and about that, and it all boils down to now. What we do now. Because tomorrow is really promised to no one.
No one.
It's promised to no one. And until the point you realize that fact, that's when you're going to begin to live. When you know your time. And I said this last Saturday, right? If you were terminal and midnight you were going to die, what would you do? What would you do? So many things you would do. I mean, everybody would probably leave work right now, right? Because I got to go and do this, I got to do that, I got to visit people, go to my favorite restaurants, make phone calls, see things I haven't seen before, right? That's the power of now. We don't have to wait till we're terminal. We don't have to wait till we're on our deathbed. So answering the question of what motivates you now is super important. What motivates you now? So I want you guys to finish this, okay? We're not going to leave here. I want you guys to finish writing for yourself, writing to yourself. And remember, you're speaking to your future self. And you have to be your hero. You have to be your hero. Speaking to yourself, December of 2019. That's 12 months from right now. You have to be your hero. That's why I asked you guys to bring up another page, because this can kind of get lengthy. But if you have this conversation with yourself, it's going to be like those shoes, that car, that outfit that you thought was so different, and now all of a sudden you see it everywhere. What I'm looking for you to get out of this is to see opportunity. Because if I asked you all, did you leave it all on the table last month? Or in boxing terms, did you leave it all in the ring? Or did you still have ways to go last month and last year? And I know for me, I still had a lot to go. Right? And that's why 2019 has to be 2x, 3x, 10x, however X's you wanna focus on. It's got to be more than it was last year, last month, yesterday.
You're such a clown.
So, who's here serious about their life? Raise your hand. Great. That's great. So write to your future self. Anything anyone you would like to add? Ricardo? If you could change one thing last year, what would you change?
Fight more.
Fight more?
Like, a lot of times, getting money here, getting money from a business, I tend to be a bit relaxed.
Bit lax, bit comfortable.
Because I can't pay my bills and I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I feel like I should fight more.
Yeah. Is that something you would want to do moving forward?
Of course, definitely.
So what do you think you can do to make that happen?
Getting up a bit more early during the morning, doing some reflection, and communicating more with customers here and for my personal business as well. I'm just pushing forward more for new business.
Mm-hmm. If I can make one suggestion and reinforce what you just said, getting up earlier, right? And when I think about time, I think about if we live for 90 years, you will have slept for 30. Is that crazy? If you live to your 90, you will have slept for 30 years.
30 years of your life.
30 years I slept. 30 years I worked. You mean you're only going to enjoy 30 years of your life? 30 years of the 90?
Not even.
And that 30 years you're sharing with other people. You know? I know there are tons of things that I do for other people. You know? That you know, bite into my time. So getting up earlier is an amazing way to afford yourself more time of enjoyment, or more time just to execute on things that can give you more freedom, can give you more happiness, can give you more, you know, even sharing time is that. Larry? What would you change if you can?
I guess because maybe let's say my stage in life or my age, because I know I'm the oldest person in the room.
Are you? We would never know.
I'm pretty sure. Maybe I have a different perspective of how I look at things. A little different.
I think we would all love to hear your perspective. I think we all respect you in such a way, and the way you carry yourself and the environment you're in. You're playing with these young guys and girls over here. So share with us.
What I actually wrote for the change is that I probably should have and could have looked for alternative sources of income, which as an accomplishment for 2018, I wrote that I actually renewed my expired licenses in life insurance and real estate.
Nice.
Which I probably should have done earlier. And all of this with a view to retirement in 19.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't. He said it, not me, but speaking someone who's older than all of us. You know, reflecting upon his life and where he is, and for him to have that feeling right now. You know, if you're 20 years old, right? You can literally screw up the next 20 years of your life and still win. And still win. But even at his age, he works a full schedule like everybody else. He's renewed his license because he has aspirations to have other sources of income and start leveraging something he did in the past, and I think that's amazing. You know, I don't put an age on these things. I think at any age you could start doing something.
KFC
You know?
started his business when he was like 50 or 60 years old.
KFC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was really old then.
Henry
62.
Ford didn't start building cars till he was in his 40s.
Yeah.
You know?
Branson, the Virginia Airlines guy, wasn't he also like in his 40s when he hit the big numbers? Yeah, a lot of these guys.
So,
No, but KFC was nothing. He started from his
Yeah.
garage. And nobody want to hire him as a worker or anything like that. And he opened up his own company. That is, age is just a number. If you have a focus on something, you can get there.
100%. And he has a super advantage over us, right? Because David and Victor didn't live through the last recession we had 10 years ago. And I mean, they were living, but they weren't working.
What the heck was going on?
They weren't working, right? So they don't have experience with the signs. You know, they could only read in history books, right? But how many recessions have you been through? Two. This is your third. And history right? Think about it. History repeats itself, right? So if you can go back and reflect upon what happened just before, during, and after, I'm betting on Larry. I'm betting on Larry with that. So what's good? So you already did the renewals of the license.
Yeah.
So what will motivate you now?
Well, I don't write it yet, but I hope to at least work here for another year, the entire year.
Okay.
I'm hoping to turn things around and go out on a golden foot that I was just saying.
There you go. All right. If I can help in any way,
I know you will.
I'm here. All right.
I know you
Billy,
Yes.
if you can go back, then what would you change?
Alright, so, so I've been having, so all my life, I'm not a morning person, right? I always slept till the alarm.
Really?
I always hit one snooze, I'm a night guy. So anytime I would go to the gym, I was always after work. I have no problem coming after work, doing chores. Some people just shut down. Some people wake up early, get their chores out of the way, get the gym out of the way. I always like to do it at night. All of 2018, for whatever reason, I automatically started waking up between 6 and 6:30 in the morning. Nothing I can put a reason to this for. And what happens when I wake up? So the first 2-3 months that it started happening, I was like, no way, I could sleep, and I would kind of force myself to try to go back to sleep. That never happened. A few months passed by, I'm like, I'm not gonna try to force myself to sleep this way, so I started getting my phone, the usual Facebook, Instagram bullshit. So if I could go back and change anything, and going forward, if I could change it, is definitely doing something with a lot of that time. That's like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. If I wake up at 6, that I could do shit until I could start getting ready to go to work. A lot of stuff I could accomplish in that time, and the truth is, up until now, I still haven't done nothing. I'm still kind of just trying to figure out if I'm gonna do the gym in the morning or try to apply myself to do something with that hour and a half in the morning for 2 hours. That's what I would do different. I would definitely utilize, if you add up all those hours, I don't want to do it, because if I see that number, it'll probably be scary what I could have done with that extra time instead of just literally laying in bed for an hour and a half in the morning, you know, trying to force myself to go back to sleep or whatnot.
What would what do you think could motivate you to take that next step?
No, I haven't thought of it in that sense as of yet. First thing that comes to mind is gym. Is to get in shape, is to go to the gym. Mm-hmm. It's just that I haven't.
So when we did the circle of individual perspective, we talked about 6 areas of our lives where health is obviously one, well-being, and we talked about relationship, we talked about spirituality, mm-hmm. Your career, and wealth. So if they're all tied together somehow, right? So my suggestion, right? The gym will put other pieces in place. Mm-hmm. Getting yourself in physical shape gets you in mental shape, and it starts to trigger different things. All of a sudden, you have a different energy, you have a different motivation, and it's just, it becomes contagious. I have my brother-in-law is training for an ultra beast, and he's only done a few races. He started out with his wife, but now training for this ultra beast, he really started working out. And I mean, his pictures are, he went from this chubby kid with like no muscle mass till now he's feeling great, and he's just like on fire. It's like everything he does is so positive. You know, he's on social media, he's taking pictures, he's eating differently, his just mental state is different because he focused on one little thing. So if you can get your mind clear, you can get your mind clear. You know, and when you work out, it releases endorphins, and it just, you got a different energy. And going back to when I jumped in that freezing water, right? It's cold, but it's all of a sudden, it's like, life hits you, and it just, blood's flowing through your body, and it's like, wow, this feels amazing, right? And you start to talk that way, and you just, all of a sudden, your chest is popped out, and you're like, what's next? I'm going in again, you know? So, very, so.
It's even worse.
Think about that. Was that?
I said that's even worse.
No, it's not. Listen, it's all about motivation. You know, it's not what people do when people are watching. It's what you do when they're not. That's going to give you the best results. Malik.
Very similar situation. I'm not a morning person. You know, love to just stay at night, even though when I used to go to gym, it was nighttime. And recently, he probably did it maybe a year, how long he said? But recently, since I started working out, you know that, and you start texting me, I'm waking up. 7:30 is my time, waking up by myself. I think, you know, it just, when you do something every day on a daily basis, it just, your mind gets used to it, you know what I mean? And the body gets used to it, and you just wake up by yourself, you know, that's what happened now. And I'm doing push-ups, sit-ups, whatever, you know, after a long time I started working out, and especially in the morning. The last time I remember waking up in the morning and doing some workout when I used to do boxing, you know, that was the only time. A lot of things are going in a positive way just by waking up in the morning.
Yeah, I think you're on a good path. And with Malik, so it started with, I told him, you know, yeah, you gotta, because he told me, he says, I you know, like, how do you do it? How do you know, and I said, I just do it, right? So I said, why don't you do it? He goes, text me in the morning. So I text him. I would text in the morning. All right, Malik, come on, get up, let's get out, right? And it started with a few text messages, and I stopped texting him, and he continued.
I'm used to it.
But he continued when he started to feel, you know, like he started walking around. He's like this. Oh man, I was doing this. And I was doing that. And, oh man.
No,
and then he wants to shadow box now more, right? Like, cause he feels like he can take me, right?
Guys, I don't feel
That's
like,
his.
I don't feel like I can take him. I know I can take
All
him.
right.
That and
That's tough talk.
He's all funny. The most important thing with me is I cheat myself, which I'm not gonna lie. You know, I can sell more cars, I can make more money, I could do more efforts. You know, that's one thing I need to do to perform and put my 100%, which is the goal of this year.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna do it. You know, it's my 100% efforts, which, you know I cheat myself, which I'm gonna stop. And mindset is there, and it will be a different outcome and different results. With gym, my personal life, with my business, with job, with friends, however, you know, it's gonna be different. Definitely.
All right.
That's what the world.
We're all here for you, right?
100%.
We're all gonna say, Malik, come on, what's up? What'd you say you wanted to do for this year, right? We're all gonna give him that little push.
Push ain't gonna work unless.
That's right. Chris?
One thing I would change is I would put my health first. I didn't do so well at that the previous year, and I would have saved money sooner, started saving money sooner. So for this year, just to continue saving money, continue putting my health first, being patient, and also trying to be as silent as possible, keep my head down, just continue executing, taking action, so that I can achieve my goals this year.
Awesome.
Good.
Alright, go back to the gym.
Let me just can I add one thing for everybody basically. What I had learned in my life, you know, practicing is very important.
What is it?
Practice. Practice is the most important thing in your life.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? Like, if you take 4-ups a day for 10 days in a row, the 11th day you will take 4-ups. If you're not gonna take 4-ups, you will go crazy. So practice. That's very important.
Consistency.
I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so.
Basically, I want to go back to the gym the way I used to. 2004, I used to be the type of person. Wake up early in the morning, 5:30, hit in the gym, and then I stopped that. And then I remember when I started here, 2014, I was like so humble, hungry. I wanted more because I got things to take care of, I want to do more. And then you know, a little personal life thing coming out my way, and then I just like discouraged, and I want to go back to be better this year, to do things different, like family wise, do vacation, do different things. I want to go back to the gym, motivate myself again, you know, a lot more things, and then blank everything up. Leave the past alone, just moving further in life.
Very good.
I think that's an important point. Leaving the past behind, right? What's done is done.
Yeah.
But you don't want your past to become your future, because if you still focus on the past, then what are you manifesting? Where are you putting your focus? You know, project forward.
Yeah.
So leave all the stuff behind. I think that's an amazing approach for you.
Yes.
And get back to the gym. It's gonna fix everything else.
Yeah.
Imran,
Yeah. In 2018, I become too lazy. You know, I was thinking getting.
we can tell.
Yeah.
No.
No, but the thing is about my personal life. You know, I was thinking to reading books and everything. I never did that. I was thinking every day because you know once I go home, I sit on a couch, watch TV till like 2 o'clock in the morning, or maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I was every day. I think that I will wake up early in the morning. You know, start working out or do something, maybe read something and everything. I never did that. So I want to change that because and watching TV like it kills so much hour from my life. Like that's the thing. When I sit down on the couch after dinner and I sit down and watch TV till like 2, 3 in the maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Next day I have to work. So I cannot get up like earlier than like what I was supposed to get up. But I will change that maybe this year, coming year I will change, focus on that. And try to focus on my next goal is working towards maybe create a second income for myself. I don't want to stuck with one income because I know you cannot rely on one income. That's my goal. That's important for me.
Would you get rid of your TV?
Wow.
That's the main thing. I will get rid of my TV. I will try.
I'm saying.
Oh, from my
take
house.
the TV out of the house.
I will not do that because if I do that means like I'm not confident enough on myself that I cannot do that thing. Because I need to be confident in myself that I will do it.
So you want to keep it there?
I will keep it there to show myself that I can do it. If the TV is still there, I can still go to bed early.
Right.
And maybe wake up early in the morning.
So make yourself a checklist, like a pilot, of the things that you want to do, and make sure that you.
Yes, that's the thing I want to do as well. Right out, you know, when you write something, you want to do the same way you wrote it up. You know, same thing you do it. And I really like that thing that you write everything up before you do. You know, you project yourself that you want to do these things. Maybe in 2019 I will write these things down for myself. So at the end of the year, 2019, I can see that what I achieved in my life or not. That's my goal.
Richard.
What would I change if I go back to 2018? I would say that I would have spent more time with my late brother who passed away in February.
Do you have anyone still here?
Yeah.
So it goes back to living. You know, you connecting with people in your past, connecting with family. We don't want to live in regret. So writing these things down, what you want to do December of 19, November, October, September, August, you know, write these things down month by month to help keep yourself so you don't live. The last thing we want to do is live with regret. But know he's still here, right? Even though he's not. Sangeets.
Oh my god, he's speaking. No, so actually I was driving home in my car last night and I was just thinking about my grandmother who had passed too. And I thought when I was little, I was like, Grandma, I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna get this, and we're gonna go here, we're gonna do this. And you know, she passed real, like just abruptly. I was like, I couldn't give it to her, I'm gonna definitely give it to my parents because they're getting older now too. And I don't want them to pass and then I'm not able to give them what I wanted to give her as well. So I gotta do something to change all of that.
So what do you have to do to give them? Is it just better life or
I
more
want to give them
attention?
better
Or
life. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, because they left an amazing life to bring me and my brother over here to get something that they couldn't provide
for you guys? Yeah.
Right. So it's like I feel like now that I'm getting older, it's my turn to give back to them. You know.
So you first got to figure it out for yourself.
Well, yeah.
And then you can take on that responsibility. But I think you're doing a great job. I told you from day one, your presence, people like you, you know? Let it out, girl. You need a profile picture on your Instagram now. You're like a ghost follower.
Okay.
But I saw your pictures with your family on New Year's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, David.
Um,
Whoa, hold on one second. So what motivates you now? What do you think can get you popping?
Yeah, I always look at Phil in these situations. I'm like, Phil, what do I do? Well, my father's birthday is coming up this month, and I'm just trying to give him an amazing birthday. So
Okay.
yeah, I gotta sell like stupid amount of cars. I gotta do that.
That's gonna do it?
That's gonna do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. David.
You guys shouldn't be.
I said David first. Come on.
You guys should not be sitting together.
No,
This is not good at all.
What do you mean, you guys? Now you sound like Joe Flanagan. No, go ahead, David.
Well, this is not like a 19 goal or, it's before I turned 30 years old.
Okay.
I want to have start a family and have a house.
You're gonna sell videos for that stuff, right?
So,
Videos you can watch and. No, I'm just kidding.
so that's my goal. It's not a year goal. It's
All right.
age goal. Yeah.
How old are you?
24.
So think about I gave this example at one of our meetings where we talked about when you decide to expand your business, right? Like life is one big business. You have a partner that you can see as a fit to expand your business. That's great. Is the environment that you guys are in, is that enough? Where you live, what you do for a living. You look at time and that balance. These are all factors that you should start getting in order right now.
Yeah.
And when the time comes, it'll happen. Where do you want to live?
Here in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn?
Yeah. I could do things. I lived in the city my whole life, so.
No, that's good. Yeah.
People that live in Brooklyn wants to move to the city. People in the city wants to get out of the city. You know what I mean? So,
Think about Larry. Multiple, right? I know you have that in your you have a business background. I know you have a cell phone store. So think about balancing those things. Victor.
What I would change in 2018. Do my due diligence on just in business and personal life. On 18, I invested a good amount of money into investments, hoping they'll bring me like 100,000. And with that money, I was going to reinvest it again, so I wouldn't have to work. Not like that. Like work smarter, not harder. I'm very big on not physically working. I like my money working for me. So doing due diligence, doing a little bit more research to what I invest in. Also, like before I also to this job, where I would, before I bring up a pencil, get all the information, so be a little bit more.
Yeah. So would you feel you made mistakes?
I made mistakes because I didn't really think about.
Okay.
I didn't really think. I like to just go.
You lost 100 grand?
No, I didn't lose 100 grand. I was trying to make 100 grand.
What'd you lose?
20.
20,000?
Yeah, just
Okay.
For my business.
Think about this. You got off cheap. There's some people that go in, on larger scale.
Yeah.
$20,000. You gain some experience to do your due diligence a little better. Maybe modeling what you want to do around something that's already proven success. Maybe getting advice from someone who is in that field, right?
It was the cryptocurrency, the boom.
Okay, well, it's not over.
It's not.
It's not over.
Started.
It's not over. I own none, but I mean, you can just look at the direction of everything, and everything is being decentralized, right? The banking system, hotel industry, rideshare. So there is some truth to that. I don't know how many of us have cash on us. We all have these cards that we swipe, right? So we already have digital currency. It's just, who's controlling it? Do you believe in Illuminati? Do you not? Like what? So do your due diligence. But
get enough.
We learn from our mistakes, so you got off cheap.
Yeah, and
Right?
to earn enough to invest in other business.
You could lose for the next 20 years and still win.
Yes.
But hopefully not gonna happen.
Right. No, it's not. Robert Kiyosaki says it best. Fear. Fail early and responsibly.
Rick Ross also said,
What's
"You never been a boss till you took a loss."
Anyone any other quotes out there for it? Sadi. Super Sadi.
The main thing I would change in 2018 was I was going out a lot. I was going to the clubs every night, going to the casino, and that really messed me up as far goes from saving my money. I did calculations. In 4 months, I spent $32,000 in clubs and casinos, which I could have saved for myself, and I could have built something else as for another income that I could have created for myself. But I wasted it just to have that, you know, little fame like for the night. Another thing I would change is my mindset. Why I'm focusing on it now. I would focus more like if a situation would come up, I wouldn't think about the positive. I would think about negative first. So I changed that now. I think of more positivity than negativity. Because once you think negative, your mind's negative, your whole day is going to be negative.
Negative thoughts, negative outcome. Positive thoughts, positive outcome.
That's it.
Also, like Victor, you got off cheap. You know, if you would have won 30 grand, you could have made a living out of it, right? Now you get married, you have a house, you start taking equity out of your house to fill your gambling, right? And that fire and that fuel is, you know, could be good and bad.
Yep.
You know, gamblers get off on winning, right? And we don't always win.
Not all the time.
So doing your due diligence and betting on something that's a little safer or backed by something that you control is probably a better thing. Betting on the market, betting on real estate, betting on business, you know?
I wanted to get into stocks.
Stocks.
Betting on yourself.
Everybody wants to get into stocks.
Oh my God.
Don't give him advice unless you're, you know, credible, right?
Whole PTO.
Do your due diligence. Do your due diligence.
Oh,
and
thank you,
model it
Phil.
around someone
PTN.
who's already
Doing
doing that well, you know? Everyone knows a guy who knows a guy that has a
knows a
guy,
guy.
right? Everyone, it's like, you know, I can tell you about the time I won, but I might not tell you about the 100 times I lost.
So the best bet is you bet on yourself.
Bet on you. Double down.
That's it. I bet I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning. I bet I go to the gym tomorrow morning. I bet I sell 2 cars today. I bet I fucking get a Mercedes next year. Bet on yourself.
I bet you I eat that food if you put it on the table. Right?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe.
I bet Kerwin don't give you a single.
I bet you Kerwin asked you for one.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to close this because I want to leave this open to more conversation, okay? You know, whether it be all of us or just you with yourself. I really want you guys to finish writing these things out and take some time. And the reason I got you guys a notepad is so you can take notes during, right? Because there's certain things you might have heard that are good, right? Retain those things. But more importantly, if it takes you 1 page or a book to write down everything you want to say to yourself for December of 2019, let's do that. And when you're done with it all, if you want me to read it, great. If you don't, I want you to fold it up and put it in the envelope that you address to yourself and seal it.
Right now? I can't
If you're done,
I'm
only
not
if you're
done.
done. If you're not done, don't. Okay? And, well, you don't need it. Do you need it? You want to make a copy of it before you put it in the envelope? No.
Okay, you're gonna get it back at the end of the year.
You're going to get it back at the end of the year.
See, you stuck to it.
But, you know, it's when you take some time to put some thought into what your goals and your projections are and these things, one thing that's going to keep you on track is writing out what you want to accomplish. So if waking up early is one of them, starting to physically go to the gym, continuing to execute now and not waiting for later, saving more money, going back to the gym, not watching so much TV and not being lazy, spending more time with friends, family, and relatives and reconnecting, you know? Providing a better life for you and your family. Not losing money and building a family in 10 years or what have you. Not losing money on a business. Not gambling anymore. Me creating more content and executing more and saving and adjusting my lifestyle. You know, all of these things have to be put on paper, so now you can visualize it and hold yourself accountable. All right? And it's one of the reasons why I put things on video, because
he can watch later.
Hey, look, you know, what you just said was now documented, right? So we'll play this video in December of 2019 and say, well, let's see what you said then and let's see where you are now. You know, and it's not for shame, but it's for personal fame. Because you have to be your biggest hero.
Yep.
Make sense?
Yeah.
First, you gotta believe in yourself.
You gotta believe in yourself.
So,
All right,
thank you very much.
Thank you,
Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, brother.